Most of my questions are going to demand a yes or no answer. Do you understand?
I do.
Okay, my first question. Both sides of the aisle today have asked for your resignation. Would you like to use my 5 minutes to draft your resignation letter, yes or no?
No, thank you.
Was this a colossal failure?
It was a failure.
Yes or no? Was it a colossal failure?
I mean, the president getting shot, like, if that's not a colossal failure, then what would be? Like, I feel like, is it only colossal if he gets killed? I mean, like, what's...
Question, yes or no?
I have admitted this is a terrible...
This is a yes or no series of questions. Was this a colossal failure, yes or no?
Yes.
Was this tragedy...
See, for me, when I see people talking like this, like, any time for me, whenever I see a person who doesn't answer a question directly, I assume it's because they're trying to obscure something. They're trying to obfuscate something. They're trying to, like, hide something. Because a normal person, it's like, do you want, you know, ketchup or mustard? They're just going to say ketchup or mustard. Right? Like, you know, do you want a medium or a large? They're going to say medium or large. So, like, yeah, if you don't answer a question directly, the odds are, like, this isn't always the case, right? Because people can ask bad questions too. But in a lot of these cases, I don't think that happened. These are just people that are coming up with excuses.
Preventable, yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Has the Secret Service been transparent with this committee?
No.
Yes.
How?
Would you say the fact that we had to issue a subpoena to get you to show up today as being transparent, yes or no?
I have always been
yes or no. You didn't want to answer the question.
Committee.
We had to issue a subpoena to get you to show up today. That is not transparent, by the way. You stated earlier, Secret Service is not political. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Would you say leaking your opening statement to Punchbowl News, Politico's Playbook, and Washington Post several hours before you sent it to this committee as being political, yes or no?
I have no idea how my statement got out.
Well, that's bullshit. So, Mr. Chairman, I would like to...
Yeah, she probably leaked it just so she could create the narrative. Yeah, no, she's right. I mean, she's a liar. I mean, it's obvious. Like, who the fuck would take this seriously?
To ask unanimous consent to enter into the record articles by Punchbowl News, Political Playbook, Washington Post, all done at 5:24 a.m., 6:12 a.m., 6:34 a.m., a solid 3 to 4 hours before this committee got your statement.
Without objection, so ordered.
Okay. Is the Secret Service fully cooperating with our committee?
Yes.
Okay. You say you're fully cooperating with this committee. On
she's gonna
July
ask specific
15th, this
questions.
committee sent you a list of demands of information that we wanted. Has the Secret Service provided this committee a complete list of all law enforcement personnel that were there that day? Have you done that? Have you provided a list to the Oversight Committee? Yes or no?
I will have to get back to you on that.
That is a no. Have you provided all audio and video recordings in your possession to this committee, as we asked on July 15th?
Not.
Yes or no?
I would have to get back to you.
That is a no. You're full of
See, this is the thing. Oh.
shit today. You're just being completely...
See, the problem is that, like, if she was being honest, she would say, of course we haven't given you all the information. Some of it's still classified and it's not ready to be shown to the public. Like, she would just say what happened. It's, again, any, like, to me, and you guys know this. Have you guys ever bought something that was, like, illegal? Have you ever bought something that was illegal? And you know how important it is to have that level of trust. And the moment that somebody breaks that trust at all, you just have to completely cut contact. Totally. Where there's smoke, there's fire every single time.
Dishonest.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
Chairman, I want to...
Come on.
We have to maintain decorum in this committee, no matter how upset we get.
Have you provided any and all memos to this committee that we've asked you on July 15th? Have you provided all memorandums within the Secret Service?
I would have to get back to you on
that. That is a no. You are being dishonest or lying. Like, you're being dishonest here with this committee. These are important questions that the American people want answers to, and you're just dodging and talking around it in generalities. And we had to subpoena you to be here, and you won't even answer the questions. We have asked you repeatedly to answer our questions. This isn't hard. These are not hard questions. have you provided us all communications?
And the thing is, like, if she was competent and good at her job, she could explain why releasing some things to the public would be a bad idea at this current time. She could easily explain it if she was competent. Because some of the questions that are asking her are unreasonable. And it's like, of course you're not showing all of the information. Do you know if there's a second shooter or not? Well, we don't know, right? They're not going to say that, because if they say that they think it's going to happen, like, this could it could cue off the person who they're trying to find. Like, that's the thing. Well, DEI, I'll get to that.
From the Secret Service related to that day and that rally. Have you provided this to me? We've asked for this information on July 15th. Have you provided any of this information
Guys do this shit too.
that this committee has asked of the Secret Service? Any of it?
I'll have to get back to you.
Have you even read this letter that we sent you? Did you even read this?
Yes.
Okay. And you have said you don't know, you have no idea. Well, the answer is no. We haven't gotten a single document or piece of information or data from you or your agency in related to the rally that we have asked you for. So,
I'm surprised that they can even deny giving that to Congress. It sounds insane.
Was this attempted assassination of Donald Trump a failure of training or execution or both?
Mm-hmm.
I think that those are answers that we need to
Training,
examine.
execution, or both? Which one?
I think those are answers.
All right. How many Secret Service personnel have lost their jobs due to this colossal failure?
0.
At this time, none.
How many?
Again, displacement of responsibility to such an abstract sense that nobody can ever be blamed for anything. That's what's happening here. And I've seen it in so many other situations. Yep, there it is. This is what people do, and that's what bureaucracy does.
Secret Service personnel have been required to take a refresher course on how not to let people shoot Donald Trump.
Our personnel are currently operational. We are examining the facts of this investigation, and we will make the changes necessary.
What time did law enforcement become aware that there was an individual on the roof with a clear line of sight to President Trump?
I am still verifying timelines.
Of course. 9 days in, you have no answers. How many minutes went by between the time?
How do you not know that? Like, I feel like the fact that you don't know that is an indication that you're incompetent. Like, you should have known that on the first day. She's so unprepared? No, it's not that she's unprepared. See, unprepared implies that there could have been something that she could have done that would have made her, like, she knows the answer to that question. She's not stupid. Like, I don't think this woman is stupid. She's just incompetent at her job, and she's lazy. It doesn't take a very intelligent person to understand that if I answer the question about what time it is, then they're going to say, why didn't you solve this problem? Like a fucking 85 IQ person could see, I don't know.
Law enforcement saw and took photos of crooks in the shooting. How many minutes?
I am still verifying
57 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
Yep, there it is. I think that the reality is the display of incompetence is in front of everybody. And it's the fact that you had a 5'6", 5'8" at most overweight woman guarding a 6'2" male president. The fact that that could have ever happened in any capacity indicates that you're incompetent at your job.
In the wake of gun violence and tragic loss of life, Republicans are ignoring solutions like gun safety reform and instead trotting out sexist tropes.
Don't bring some short fat bitch to guard the president. It's not that hard.
Unanimous consent to
what are you crying for? Shut the fuck
CNN
up.
Titled "Right-Wing Media Figures
What the fuck?
Blame Women in Secret Service and DEI for Security Failure in Trump Shooting."
Without objection to order.
This article quotes members of Congress and others that plainly accuse DEI and the hiring of women as a liability for the Secret Service.
It's a liability. It is.
Women have been an integral part of the agency since 1971 and are held to the same standards as their male counterparts. To use them as a scapegoat during a time of crisis is shameful and it is dangerously divisive. In fact, based on recent publicly available demographic data of the agency, the largest demographic groups among special agents are white and male. But to right-wing extremists, the truth doesn't matter. The lies they tell to advance their anti-diversity agenda, which is a key theme throughout Project 2025, will
You mean
only
the thing
make
that they're not
American
gonna do?
public less safe and more divided. And every day, Director Cheadle, that you fail to give us answers, they are given more oxygen to make their baseless claims that women and people of color are responsible for tragic events. And that is dangerous too. Thank you. And I yield my remaining time to Ranking Member Raskin.
Thank you to the distinguished gentlelady from Massachusetts, and thank you for those trenchant insights. I wanted to make the point that you were making and several of other members were making to bring it into sharp relief here.
See how this
the very same day
just
that Donald Trump narrowly escaped an assassination attempt.
Yeah.
But an honored
'Cause she's
firefighter was
short,
gunned down and
overweight.
killed, and other people were injured. There was another mass shooting that day, just several hours later in Birmingham, Alabama. 4
right?
people killed and 10 wounded in a nightclub shooting. And you might think, oh, that's some kind of freakish coincidence. Not at all. We have more than one mass shooting a day in America. They are so commonplace now that they are barely reported in the national news. It's, of course, local news in Birmingham, Alabama, that 4 people were killed and 10 other people were shot and seriously wounded, being treated at the hospital. These things are a nightmare for the families of the victims.
What does this have
who've
to
been
do with
killed,
the
for
Secret
the
Service?
families who have to take care of people who've been seriously injured and wounded.
What does it have to
They
do?
are a major financial drain, publicly and privately, and yet we allow AR-15s to be purchased with abandon, promiscuously, all over the country. People can just go out and get an assault weapon. And the distinguished gentlelady from Michigan was right. We have a hearing when it affects the President of the United States, but on all the other days of the year, we don't have a hearing about it.
Wow, what a surprise.
And
the president
I think it
gets
is
more
because
attention
of
than
an
a bunch of
honest
random people.
Disagreement we have about the
Thank
Second
you
Amendment.
so
There are some
much.
people who think the Second Amendment means you've got the right to arm yourself with whatever weaponry you need to overthrow the government of the United States. And we reject that as a false interpretation of the Second Amendment and a false interpretation of the Constitution. We can ban assault
who
weapons.
doesn't reject
We
that?
did it
It's Thomas
back
Jefferson.
in 1994. It dramatically reduced these mass shootings, and when that
But
ban
yeah,
was lifted,
whatever.
the mass shootings went up through the roof again, and we've shown it. And so just like we're demanding real answers and real action from the Secret Service, let us demand real action and real answers from ourselves about the nightmare of mass gun violence, which puts America into a category all its own when you compare us to the countries in the European Union or Canada or other similar
I'll look at the clips after it's over. It's probably going to be over
There's
soon.
nothing like what we're going through. So we've got to act on the Secret Service.
What a waste
to
of
protect
time.
ourselves against political violence, and we've got to act as a Congress to protect ourselves against AR-15 violence in America.
Okay.
Chair recognizes Ms. McClain from Michigan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And first of all, I want to thank the Secret Service agents, those who work tirelessly to protect our presidents, and specifically
Yeah, I
those
just went down
agents
the wrong
who
hole.
did not hesitate to jump
I'll
in front of
breathe
President
water
Trump.
a lot.
And my heart goes out
I'm
to the
just an idiot.
family of the Capitor family and the
Yeah, like,
people
I have to
at
have
the
an-
rally
I'm
who
a
are
mouth breather.
still recovering.
I'm totally fine.
On the other hand, the Secret Service has a leadership problem, and it falls on you. And although I appreciate your hollow
Just fire
words
the- fire
that
her.
buck
Like, what are we
stops
talking
here,
about? What is
I was
this?
actually hoping for some answers. Director Cheadle, you must answer to the American people if you want to stay in charge.
Bro, just
it's
kick
really,
her to the
really
curb.
simple. You want to keep your job, right?
You shouldn't.
Absolutely.
Okay. The best way to keep your job is to answer the questions, not play this shell game, not sing the Slim Shady song, wasn't me. I mean, come on. How long did you prepare for this hearing?
Oh my God. Wait,
I've been preparing for this hearing.
that's not Slim
over the
Shady,
weekend and
that's
into last
Shaggy.
Okay, 5 days? 6 days?
Hey,
As soon as I was notified
And how long was that?
about this hearing,
Okay, 4 days?
what the
I began
fuck?
preparing.
4 days?
Who's
3
this
days?
bitch talking?
I'm not sure the date
Who
that
she
I got
thinks
the,
she
the
is?
letter asking me to be here.
What are you sure of?
God.
Are you sure the color of your hair? Are you sure the color of your suit? I'm just like, tell
She's
the
too
American
young
people, what are
to
you
get
sure
that
of?
wrong.
You don't even know when you started preparing for the hearing. I mean, the biggest hearing of your life, and you have no clue. You can't remember when you started preparing for this hearing.
This is an irrelevant
Can
question.
you
This is
understand
stupid.
why those words seem hollow to the American people who are supposed to entrust their faith in you?
It's not that
I assure
it's not
you,
that
the
deep.
moment I received notification,
But you can't remember. You got a little Alzheimer's, dementia going. I mean, you can't remember.
I have several active investigations going on and an operational agency to run.
Okay. All right. But you want to take accountability, right? The buck stops with you, right?
I am taking accountability.
Super. Then let's start with trying to answer some questions. You keep referring to the FBI. When asked how many shell casings were on the roof, you referred to the FBI. When asked if there were explosive in the car, you referred to the FBI. When asked if Crooks was acting
displacement
alone,
of
you referred to the
accountability.
FBI.
I like
See
that.
a common theme here? I
That's
can go
cute.
on and on. My question is, who at the FBI
Yeah.
should I speak with? Wait for it. Wait for it.
The FBI is responsible for the criminal
Who?
Is there a name?
Who is it? She's not going to give a name because she's
I'm
a.
not certain.
I'm not certain.
Who at
All
the
right, here we go.
FBI
I'm
is
not
running the
certain. I
investigation?
don't know. Let me ask a different question. Have you been in communication with the FBI?
Yes, I have.
Who were
with
you
whom?
communicating with? Yeah.
I speak with the director and the deputy director.
What's their
Okay.
names?
And what have they
Yeah.
shared with you about this investigation? So I'll give you an opportunity to answer again.
Or the
Did they
theatrics?
share with you how many shell casings were on the
I
roof?
mean, it's interesting. It's entertaining.
They have shared with me the evidence
Did they
they've collected.
share with you how many shell casing were on the roof?
Yes.
How many?
Okay, how many were there?
I would refer to the FBI for their
How
investigation
many?
This
were
is a
there?
and their
joke. How is
information
she
that they
still
need
even
to share
here?
in their investigation?
So they've shared the information with you. You just don't want to share the information with us, correct?
We have concurrent investigations that are going on.
So they have shared this information
this-
with you.
she's done.
You know
Like-
the answer to the question. You just refuse to answer the question from the member of Congress who has subpoenaed you to be here. Is there a different answer to that question?
I was always willing to come here and testify
Of
before
course.
this oversight hearing.
Beautiful. Then let's
Wasn't a-
do
that
that.
was
Let's
necessary.
for once have your actions match your words. So you've been in communication with the FBI. You know the answers, and you refuse to tell us the answers. So I will ask you again. You know how many shell casings were on that roof. What is the answer to that question?
I think it's pertinent
What
to talk.
is the answer to that question?
I love this.
I think it's pertinent
I
to
hate
talk
people
to you
like
about
this.
the
I hate-
information that the Secret
I hate
Service
people
has
like her.
and that the Secret Service knows related
Yeah.
I'm
to the
asking
events
you
on
an
that day.
answer to the question. If you're supposed
do.
to be in
Yeah.
charge, if the buck stops with you, how come you can't share the answers? What are you covering up? What are you hiding, my friend?
Bro, she's getting cooked.
I'm not covering anything else.
Then why can't you answer a
Yeah,
simple
you are.
question?
You're not saying what it is.
I would leave it to the criminal investigation to answer questions related to that.
When you talk to the FBI and you ask them how many explosives, well, let me ask you, did you ask them how many explosives were on the roof? Did they answer that question? Or in the car, excuse me. Did they answer that question for you?
Yes.
Yes. So you know the answer to that question that my colleagues have asked you. But again, you refuse to give us the answers. You're playing this wasn't me. Well, I submit to you, if you can't, and it's not a can't, it's a won't. It's not a can't. It's not a
Yeah,
I
she's not-
don't
she's just
know.
not doing it.
It's a I choose not to answer the question.
The reason why she's
Well,
not
let me
saying
tell
is
you,
because
Ms.
there's
Cheadle,
more shells
if you're gonna
than what was
lead, you
originally
need to
reported,
lead.
probably.
If you want to be in charge, then answer the question
And it
or
would make
step
them look
aside
worse.
and have someone with the courage and the guts to answer to the American people the questions that they deserve answers to. And with that, I yield back.
Chair now recognizes Ms. Boebert from Colorado.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to continue down that vein.
Yep.
You have been here sitting today, Director Cheadle, definitively able to dismiss erroneous information and speculation. However, you are refusing to answer questions that we now know that you have the information for. You are saying that you are wanting to answer questions that the Secret Service has information to. Well, ma'am, you are the Secret Service. You are the director. You have said that you are the best for the job. So I'm going to ask you some questions now knowing that you do have answers from the FBI, whom you have been passing the buck to this entire day. And I'll start with something that, you know, maybe the FBI doesn't know because it has to do with you personally. You said you spoke with President Trump after the assassination attempt. And I want to know, did you apologize to him directly?
Of
for
course
nearly
not,
having
because that would
President
make
Trump
that
killed?
would take accountability.
Yes, I did.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that you recognize that this was your
I bet she did.
failure. Now, since the
Yeah.
assassination attempt, you are under oath, reminding you.
She
Have
a rat.
you communicated with anyone at the White House on an encrypted messaging app like Signal? Yes or no?
No, I have not.
Are you willing to surrender your personal phone for analysis?
If I am required to do so.
Okay. I will look into making that request.
I mean, it wasn't a
because I would like to see your
conspiracy. She's
personal
just
phone to see if
stupid.
you're,
Like,
communicating over encrypted
that's what I think.
messaging apps. Have you ever turned down enhanced security requests from Donald Trump's detail, his special agent in charge, Sean Curran?
Turn down.
Have you ever turned that down?
No, I have not.
Have there been has your team, has the Secret Service? Maybe not you personally.
I believe, as I mentioned earlier, there are times when requests are made for
And you
assets,
have denied them. They have been denied.
And a denial
This is too
doesn't-
broad of a
Has the
question
Trump
to mean
campaign made
anything.
requests for additional assets that have been denied?
This is too broad
Denial
of a question.
doesn't mean vulnerability.
Have there been additional
Yeah.
requests for enhanced security at Mar-a-Lago?
We have made a number of enhancements to.
You confirmed there were bomb-sniffing dogs that were provided. You failed to confirm if there were aerial security surveillance assets that were provided. So yes or no, was that provided?
At the rally?
At the rally, yes, ma'am.
We had Overwatch provided at the rally.
You've confirmed that the assassin was identified as
No wonder
suspicious
that happened.
57 minutes prior to the shooting.
Explains everything.
Was the suspicious individual ever approached by an agent? Was any contact ever made with him?
Not to my knowledge.
Is that the standard protocol for someone who is identified as suspicious?
The protocol would be to locate the individual and.
And you said that
conduct
he
an
was
interview.
located 2 to
You
5
didn't
times
even have to
approximately?
locate him. You
No, I
already
said
knew
that
where it
the
was.
information was passed potentially somewhere between 2 to 5
And he was never
times.
located by an agent?
To my knowledge, that individual was not located by an agent.
We have dozens of rally goers who have identified him and not one agent on the ground. There are many, many, many agents on the ground, local law enforcement, Secret Service. No one was able to identify him and have sights on and see him.
What I'm saying is that the agents that were on the ground at the time, I have no knowledge that they were able to interview him or locate him.
Thank you. Was there a local law enforcement officer who approached the roof and saw
That's what it is.
the shooter and saw that he was present on the roof?
That is the information that has been shared with
Have
me.
you spoke
That's
to
what's
that
happening.
local law enforcement officer?
No, I have not.
Obvious.
Are you going to?
It is part of a criminal investigation that the
Are you going to-
FBI is interviewing those individuals.
Were
Mr. Chairman,
agents
Jobs is
stationed
everywhere.
on the water tower?
No,
Why?
that would not be something that would be included in a security plan.
A water tower?
Has the man who is reported to have been present wearing a gray suit who allegedly requested a photo of the dead body of the assassin on top of the AGR roof been identified?
I don't have that information.
Is that something that you've heard of?
No.
Were ATF agents present at the rally
Why would they be there?
To attend or to work?
to work?
Not to my knowledge.
How long did the counter sniper have crooks in his sights?
That's a good question.
Before the shooter opened fire on President Trump?
I don't have that specific timeline.
Will you be able to tell us if he communicated with other agents on what he was seeing through his sights?
Like 5 minutes.
Once I have that information, absolutely.
How would you not
Because
know
we need
that?
to know why he
I feel like
waited
that's kind of
for
relevant,
multiple
right?
rounds to be fired at President Trump before the threat was neutralized. We need to know if he was given an order to hold fire. Now, it's you've excused the roof of being unmanned because of the slope of the roof. Do you continue
Remember
to
the cow?
assert the slope of the roof as a credible reason for leaving this position undefended?
The slope of the roof.
First, I'll go back and correct that there was no order to hold fire. Our agents and officers have the
What about the
ability
roof, though?
to neutralize a threat at the time
So you don't
they
know,
see it.
I'm sorry, you don't know the communication that was taking place or how long he had him in his sights because you haven't spoke to him, but you do know that there was no
Wouldn't you-
order to
I
hold
would want to
fire.
figure that
I can
out.
tell you the way that our personnel are trained. They are trained on the use of force scale, that when they see a threat, they are authorized to neutralize that threat. They don't have to ask for permission.
You excuse the roof being unmanned because of the slope. Do you stand by that assertion?
The roof was not covered with an individual on it because there was overwatch provided.
Apparently
not. No, there was no overwatch provided. This is very evident. President Trump
I guess
was
that
shot.
didn't
A
happen.
man died.
You lying.
There was no oversight provided. I find this rather maddening, especially now knowing that you do have answers from the FBI, who you have been passing the buck to this entire hearing, not
It's the
answering
FBI's fault.
a
Yeah.
congressional hearing.
Again, it's
Members
just-
of
it's
Congress,
rat
while
behavior.
you are under oath and under a subpoena, I find it maddening that the director, that our country has come centimeters away from oblivion under your watch. You have answers.
How's
You
she
are
still even
refusing
there?
to give those to us, directing us to the FBI. And this entire thing is a waste of time.
You think she'll be fired? Yeah.
You are responsible for the loss of a life and the shooting that took place on President Trump. You do need to resign. This is bipartisan. You need to be fired. You do not need to hold this position.
True.
You're not the best for this job. I am over
She
my
is the
time.
worst.
I cannot
Yeah.
tolerate your watch any
True.
longer. And I'm going to continue to call daily for you to be removed from your position, ma'am.
Chair recognizes Mr. Fry from South Carolina.
I agree
Thank you,
with
Mr.
her. She's
Chairman.
right. She cooked.
Director Cheadle, how long have you been with the Secret Service? 29 years, right?
That's correct.
And how long have you been director of the Secret Service?
Just under 2 years.
During your tenure as director under the Secret Service, I know we're here today to talk about the assassination attempt on President Trump, but how many other security lapses have occurred with protectees under your watch?
She's not going to say that. She can't say that. She shouldn't say that.
I don't have a specific number,
Yeah.
but there have been some lapses.
There have been other lapses. Was one of them Jake Sullivan?
Yes, sir.
What happened there?
Wait, what?
There was an individual who was able to access Mr. Sullivan's residence.
His residence. A protectee, somebody was able to break into his house. And what happened? Did anyone get fired because of that?
There were individuals who have been reassigned.
Reassigned. What other steps have taken? What I'm seeing. What other incidents have occurred other than?
It's
Jake Sullivan?
you can't unweave the tapestry, so there can never be any fault.
Was there an issue with the Secret Service agent and Vice President Harris?
I would not call that a security incident.
Well, it seems to me, I mean, you have security lapses with President Trump. You have security lapses with Jake Sullivan. You have issues with your personnel related to Vice President Kamala Harris. There seems to be a repeated theme here. Would you not agree with that?
I think that we are talking about separate categories of incidents.
Every
Well,
category
I would
aligns
disagree
with her
that. I
leadership,
think
though.
there's a repeated theme when you've got
Yeah, it's her.
protectees and you're not upholding your core mission. Let me ask you something else. Does the Secret Service routinely record communications between and amongst detail?
Radio communications?
Any communication?
Email communications are captured, as well as text messages, and then depending on the detail, radio communications are recorded.
Does the Secret Service have recorded communications from the July 13th event?
We do not have radio communications from that day.
But you have text messages?
We do have emails and text messages.
Emails, okay, great. Does the head of the Trump detail or someone else embedded in this detail have command decision-making authority, or do they need to seek authorization from someone outside that detail?
The head of the detail has the decision-making authority for things that are necessary for that detail.
Is that standard for protection details?
That should be.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it should be, of course.
Let me ask you something.
Where's he going? What is this?
During campaign events, is it common for the Secret Service to utilize other agencies?
Yes, it is.
What other agencies would be providing assistance to the Secret Service?
There are a number of other agencies that provide assistance to the Secret Service during campaigns. We utilize personnel from the Department of Homeland Security. We utilize personnel from the Department of Defense, and we utilize local law enforcement partners.
Are you on the same radios? Do you provide the radios to all the assets that are taking part in protection of an event?
We provide radios to the personnel from the Department of Homeland Security that are assisting us.
But not local law enforcement?
Local law enforcement is working on their own radios.
Are you on the same frequency?
We ensure that we have counterparts in the security room, and so the local law enforcement will place one of their personnel
Tecton, thanks for the raid. Hi,
in
guys.
the security
Hi.
room with our personnel so that we have interoperability
Thank you, man.
communications.
Let me ask you something just about the timeline, because I think this is really interesting that we can't nail that down. I mean, I think there are lay people out there with more
Enjoy your
knowledge
election?
about the
Oh, I
timeline
will.
than you seem to come before a subpoena in front of Congress. Was Mr. Crooks observed at the AGR building prior to the shooting?
Was he observed?
He was observed on the grounds outside of our perimeter prior to the shooting.
At approximately what time was that? You don't have to give me the specific minute, but at approximately what time was that?
Yeah.
I believe it was about 45 minutes or so prior to.
Did the sniper team take a photo of Mr. Crooks?
The local team did, yes,
So it was a local team and not a Secret Service sniper?
that took the photo.
Okay.
So
did
the
he
local
relay that
police are more
photo
competent
to
than the
Central Command?
Secret Service?
Again, it's an active ongoing investigation, so I want to make sure that I'm factual with the route that photo took and who that was disseminated to and when.
What time did when did Mr. Crooks' status go from a suspicion, a person that was under suspicion, to a threat? When did that happen? And maybe not even a specific
Probably when he
time,
shot
Director
Trump.
Cheadle. Maybe a certain event that happened that transformed
like
him
after he shot
from
him.
a person of suspicion to a threat. When did that happen?
Maybe after he shot Trump like the third time. They're like, wait a minute. Oh, maybe he was
To the
just
best
playing
of my
around.
knowledge, based on what I've been told thus far, it's approximately 5 minutes to where individuals relayed that there was an incident being worked at the 3 o'clock of the president.
So
former
that was,
president.
but it was before the shots were fired?
That is correct, but again, it was not phrased as a threat. It was just that something was being worked.
Yeah, but my question is, when did he become, when did he transform from suspicion to threat? Because they're treated very differently.
Yeah.
People can be suspicious, but they're not a threat until a certain point in time. So when did that happen?
When he shot
I
him?
believe that it was seconds before the gunfire started.
Seconds. My gosh, we actually have a few questions that we got answered today. Listen, I'm going to wrap up here, Mr. Chairman, but here's the frustration that people have. The buck stops with you. You've said that yourself. But the problem in Washington, D.C., it is the only town in America that you can be so bad at your job that you actually get a promotion or don't get fired. You have not been able to answer the number of agents, whether or not requests were denied on additional security, whether or not law enforcement were able to engage before the shooting with the assassin, how he got on the roof, how the rifle got on the roof. You can't tell us how many shots he fired, whether the casings were recovered.
Yeah.
You can't tell us anything about his cell phone. You can't tell us whether the rally was supposed to be postponed, given the intelligence that you were receiving. You can't tell us whether the car had a bomb. You can't even tell us his motive. And the American people are incredibly distrustful because it has taken 9 days to even get a scintilla of evidence out of you. Maybe if I was CNN or ABC or NBC, I would have gotten much more thorough and accurate information, but we have not received that in a subpoenaed hearing in front of this Congress. That is why the American people are frustrated, and I echo the bipartisan calls on this committee and all across this country that you should resign, or maybe when the president wakes up from his nap, he can fire you.
I bet
Chair
Biden's
now
dead.
recognizes Ms. Luna from Florida.
I'm going to say it.
Director Sheehan,
I bet
can you
he's
please give me
dead.
the names of the individuals who are in charge of your con-op for the rally?
I'm not going to release names.
Can you give me the
today.
titles? And how many individuals?
No.
Nothing?
We had a full advance
Yeah, damn,
team.
yeah,
that was
it's sad, but I
responsible
think
for
that's what
the
How
happened.
many people are the final approval authority?
I do. I think that's what happened.
There are a number of people
We're dying.
who
Can you
are
give me a number?
engaged in approving
Can you
the
give me
plan.
a number?
No, I do not have
Okay.
a firm number.
Can you just confirm whether or not, I understand this is an open investigation, but in order to dispel conspiracy theories, have you guys been able to subpoena the shooter's Discord records, or has the FBI, to your knowledge?
I believe that the FBI is working on those.
Damn. So the FBI,
Is it factual
bro,
to say
like,
that you have not ruled out that the shooter was working with other people or persons?
Again, the
Dude, the
FBI
FBI
is
is
conducting
great.
a criminal investigation into
Can
the
you,
shooter.
Yeah, they're
at
actually
least in
doing
an
their
effort
job.
to dispel conspiracy theories, can you confirm or deny that?
At this time, we do not have that there were any other people engaged.
So you believe he was acting alone?
I do.
Okay. Have you been made aware of multiple eyewitness reporting that there was a second shooter on a water tower?
I do not have any information related to any second shooter.
Okay, the reason I asked that is because according to testimony from multiple witnesses, they did report that. And again, to my understanding, there were over 40 sniper teams that were briefed by the Butler ESU. And I want to make sure that people are aware, if you're saying that there's not another shooter, that we are able to clear that information, because from this whole entire briefing, it doesn't seem like much information has been able to get out to the American people. So I'm trying to dispel rumors, as I'm sure you understand.
yeah, a lot of times.
Was it true that Secret Service was present at the Butler ESU briefing?
Oh,
There was a briefing.
a lot of times people
between
think there's
the,
two shooters.
Counter sniper teams that were working
Secret
on the
Service
ground.
present?
Yes, to my knowledge.
Okay, I want to read you a report from people that seem to be throwing you under the bus and stated that they were in attendance and that Secret Service was not in attendance at the security briefing, according to individuals with knowledge, to also include that the AGR building where the shooter Thomas Matthew Crooks was located was actually not a part of their security perimeter for that. So there was not Secret Service present. It seems as though that when you were asked earlier from Rep. Krishnamurthy about whether or not Secret Service was aware of a threat, you had said no, they were unaware of a threat. And yet, according to communications, again, from law enforcement that were in some of these group chats, they actually had reported that Secret Service was made aware of a threat at around 5:59 p.m. as a part of the command, including Secret Service, aware of messages and requests about information about the suspect's location. Can you please tell me if you have knowledge of that at all?
Again, I think we're conflating the difference between the term threat and suspicious.
But you guys did have knowledge at 5:59 p.m. according to those group chats, did you not?
Of a suspicious individual.
Okay.
Well, why didn't you?
Chairman,
why
in
didn't?
my opinion, according to some of the
But
testimony
why-
today, I feel that you have perjured yourself in some instances. And so I'm going to ask for a full review of the transcripts by staff. And if you find that to be the case, I do ask that you bring perjury charges against
Yeah.
the director. I will say this, it is very frustrating, and I've talked to my colleagues and we've said it to your face, that you have been up here basically stonewalling our ability to get the answers to the American people. And what I will also say is that every single member of Congress
Yeah,
does
they need
not
to make
feel
an
safe
example
with
out of
you
her.
in charge. You have heard that, and I think that we are all sitting ducks with you in directing the Secret Service currently. But more importantly, it sends a message to our adversaries that we are not protected, and we are one of the strongest countries in the world, so you have essentially made us a less safe country because of it. As a result of that, I'm asking you to formally step down. I share my same opinions as my Democrat colleagues. And I also think that your efforts to bring forward a full investigation and report in 60 days is unacceptable. And as a result of that, I'm going to do everything in my legislative toolkit to ensure that that happens sooner rather than later. And I'm sure that you know that we brought a vote on inherent contempt against Garland for essentially blocking a congressional investigation. And I don't think that you should be any different. So I will say that I am just completely disgusted by your performance today. And I understand that you're probably in a position where you're being told not to testify, which is why we had to subpoena you. I think that goes back to Garland. But again, that is part of
Holy
the
shit.
flushing that we need to get
Bro,
out of
she having a
Washington,
bad day.
and I would be happy to assist in that process. Chairman, I yield the rest of my time.
chair now recognizes Mr. Langworthy from New York.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate you bringing this hearing forward with a subpoena. Director, yesterday I made the decision to get in my car and drive to Butler, Pennsylvania in preparation for this moment and asking you questions about the events of
She got cooked? Yeah. She having a bad
the
year, bro?
assassination
Yeah.
attempt on President
She having a really
Trump's
bad
life.
time.
I've done several presidential events in prior in my career, and I wanted to see this site with my own two eyes because I don't believe the video footage tells the whole story.
I think she had a
or
bias
looking
against
at things
Trump.
on a diagram.
I don't know.
And I was absolutely appalled when I went to the site when I saw the fact that I could have stood on the roof of that building, the AGR building, and hit that podium with a 9-iron, and I'm a lousy golfer. And the fact that that was not included in the perimeter is a complete dereliction of the duty of the U.S. Secret Service.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, there are very few rooftops that needed to be secured, and the fact that Secret Service, as they were putting a site plan in place, did not
saying
think
that he could have no-scoped it
to man those rooftops. You have
That's
completely walked away from your duties. You had one job, and that's to protect the future president of the United States or to protect all of the other protectees. And President Trump is only here today by God's grace because he had just something in him that made him turn his head just slightly, or we would be in a national period of mourning right now. And you have done nothing here today. I've rewritten these questions like 4 times during your hearing, and you haven't answered a damn one of them. You haven't given any information. You have hidden behind this FBI investigation.
It's not
and I think
a
you should
question.
be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah.
Because you have brought more shame to your agency than I think that the assassination attempt has at this point. This is literally the worst performance I have ever seen in front of a
that's
congressional
good.
hearing. You have offered no reason for this committee, this body,
man.
or the American people to trust you or the Secret Service today.
What's she hiding? Probably
And
because
you
she's
should
stupid.
resign. You have said that you've put new security measures in place after the assassination attempt. Can you tell us what those are? Because the American people
She
want to
shouldn't
know
say that.
you're taking real corrective
If she says
measures.
that, she's an
But today
idiot.
you've pointed to an investigation. Investigation or not, you still have a job to do with a zero-fail mission. But so far, there's been absolutely no accountability, and you've admitted that here today. Not one person's been suspended. Not one person's been put on a desk. Meanwhile, we've got the most contentious of elections in our nation's history, and protectees are in danger because of incompetent leadership. Not the agents. The agents piled on President Trump to protect his life. Those are heroes. But the administrators running your agency,
Not every
they're
agent.
not right now. They're not doing their jobs, and you certainly aren't doing. The most appalling part of Saturday's events is the countless opportunities that Secret Service had to stop Crooks before he even got on the roof. At 3 o'clock, Crooks raised suspicion by entering the rally with a rangefinder.
He was
At
walking
5:45,
around like an
a cop with a
NPC.
Beaver County Emergency
Yeah.
Services Unit saw Crooks eyeballing the roof at the AGR International Building. And then at 5:55, Secret Service was warned of a suspicious person and identifies Crooks as a threat. This was all
What's a
before
rangefinder?
shots were fired
It finds
15
range.
minutes later. Director, yes or no, did local law enforcement alert the Secret Service about Crooks' presence at the rally?
Yes, they did.
Ooh.
The shooter came to attention of law enforcement almost an hour before President Trump went on scene.
Wow, an
law
hour.
enforcement alerted the Secret
An
Service of
hour?
the shooter. Over
An
and over,
hour?
you said there's a difference between a suspicious individual and a threatening individual.
What?
Can you explain what the shooter needed to exemplify to be called a threat?
That's a good question. This guy's good.
So I'm not clear as to what identified him as suspicious to the individuals who originally clarified
But
him
you
that
said
way.
he was suspicious.
For the Secret Service, for an individual to be determined to be a threat, that individual would have to be seen with a weapon or capable of doing some sort of harm to our protectees.
I mean, Director, an individual walking into a rally with a rangefinder, scoping out an
Why would you have a
unprotected rooftop, and he
rangefinder?
reportedly flew a drone over hours before. It sounds like a lot more than suspicious, especially at a
Couldn't a
presidential
drone have a
rally.
bomb on it?
Your operational lapses, your resource management, and poor judgment nearly resulted in the assassination of President Trump. I mean, the dereliction of duty here is just appalling. The fact that you haven't visited Butler is just maddening to me. That you're not taking this job
didn't even go
seriously.
over there?
Many people here have called for your resignation. I've introduced a resolution here into this body that hopefully will get a vote this week calling on the president to fire you, ma'am. You have not done your job. You have put
Everybody knows
two
that.
black eyes on your agency, and you need to go. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
He right.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes Mr. Burleson from Missouri.
Director Cheadle, I just want to kind of get an idea of what you can answer, because outside of what the FBI is responsible for, you have full responsibility for the Department of Secret Service. So the question is, what is the mission? Who defines the mission?
Our mission of the Secret Service is to protect the president, the vice president.
He's going to be like, did you achieve that mission?
Presidential candidates, the former presidents, and those by executive order. And we also have an investigative mission.
And those are well defined.
Yes, they
Everyone within the agency understands the mission.
Yes, they do.
What about protocols and standards? Who defines the protocols and standards?
She does.
We have a number of protocols and policies in place.
She does, but she's saying that a lot of people do it to displace accountability.
So would it be safe to say
that's what's happening?
That you failed the mission, the ultimate mission?
See, everybody knew where he was going
today. That there was a failure.
Yeah.
What about specific failures within protocols and guidelines within the agency?
Again, I am certain that the investigation that is being conducted internally, as well as the external investigation.
You said earlier in the hearing that there was either a communication, there was errors in communication or in operations. Could it be both? In both errors in operational decisions.
You said you fucked up once.
And
Is it
errors in
possible you fucked up
communications?
twice?
I think the investigation potentially could identify both.
So I want to talk about communications. Representative Boebert asked earlier about using encrypted apps, that you said you have not used, I guess, Signal. Have you used any encrypted app to communicate from your personal device?
I do, on occasion, use encrypted apps to communicate.
So you use some form of an encrypted app to communicate with people within the federal government, with local law enforcement? Whom are you communicating using the encrypted apps?
That's a good question.
Many times it's with colleagues and associates.
So you're communicating with colleagues.
But I thought she said earlier.
There are times that the Secret Service, when we work internationally with some of our partners, that they don't have the same texting capability.
And you're not able to do that with your government issued device?
Recently, we have been able to install some of those apps on government devices.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the things that we can get access to. I'm actually shocked that you are using your personal device and encrypted communication tools. I think that might be the most shocking thing that I've heard today. I didn't expect for you to say that.
Of course she was, yeah.
This committee has requested multiple documents. This is not, under the purview of the FBI, this is under your purview. We requested a complete list of all law enforcement personnel, including Secret Service, Department of Homeland Security, local law enforcement with the roles in protecting the president. And we requested that for us to receive that by July 18th. Did you provide that?
I believe that our agency is in the process of collecting all documents.
So you have not provided it. How long does it take to determine who the personnel were that were on site?
We are collecting a comprehensive list of all the documents that have been requested.
We also requested all the audio and video recordings that your agency, not the FBI, but your agency has in possession related to the event. Did we receive those? Have you provided those at all?
We are in the process of collecting all documentation requested.
You're in the process, but you have not. Any memorandums or any internal communications related to the event? We requested that you provide that. Have you provided any of that?
We are in the process of collecting the information that has been requested.
Okay.
So no.
So
that's no.
When can we expect to receive these documents? How long does it take to determine who was on site, who was being employed to be there to protect the former president? When can we expect that? How many days does it take to provide that
At
information?
some point.
We want to make sure that we have a comprehensive
No date.
accounting of
Yep.
all of the documents that were engaged in that day, and we will make them available as soon as possible.
I think transparency is the key here. It's shocking to me that
Yep,
we
no
are
date.
communicating in a encrypted app to colleagues. I'm almost certain that violates some federal laws.
I would like to clarify, you didn't ask me whether my communications were government work related or whether they were personally
Yes,
related.
yes, he did.
Communicating
I
with
don't
colleagues.
communicate,
Yes, he did.
government business.
He asked if they were federal workers.
With colleagues on a personal device. I communicate on my work device.
Are you using an encrypted device on your work device?
I am not.
No encrypted apps.
No, I do not.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair now recognizes Mr. Waltz from Florida.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
What's this?
Madam Director, please, I'd like to direct your attention to this video.
And I sincerely appreciate the clarity on this.
Can we turn up the volume, staff?
I just want to ask you, because this has popped up. Republican Congressman Mike Walz, he said on social media on Saturday, and I'm going to read this for you because it does talk about
Can you respond to that, please?
Who knows why that happened?
Well, that's a baseless and
who
irresponsible
knows why?
statement, and is one that is unequivocally false.
Director Cheadle, did you speak with your boss, Secretary Mayorkas?
CNN cut it? No, it says this is live.
You fall under DHS. Did you speak with him?
Yeah, it says it's live.
On the 14th, the day after?
Yes, I did.
So you spoke with him before he made that statement?
I spoke with him.
They're showing the video as
immediately
evidence?
following the incident.
Did you inform him that all requests for additional resources?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
You fall under DHS. Did you speak with him on the 14th, the day after?
I was really,
Yes,
I
I
thought
did.
it was just like the news
So you
station
spoke
messing
with him
up.
before he made that statement?
I spoke with him immediately following
Did you
the incident.
Did you inform him that all requests for additional resources for President Trump had been fulfilled? Or that it was false to say they had been denied?
I informed him that the request for that rally that day had been fulfilled.
Okay, you continue to answer that very carefully. Because I made a broader statement, the agents that came to me made a broader statement that his permanent protective detail for years now have been asking for more. Is that correct?
I do not have specific incidents of those requests.
Is it correct that they've been asking for more?
I have heard the same reports that you have.
I've heard that.
Without having them in front of me, I am unable.
Those requests are made in writing. I mean, the agents are telling me they make them in writing. This isn't a verbal agency. Things are made in writing.
So she
I
either
understand what you're
denied it or
saying.
she didn't
I don't have
know.
those requests in front of me here.
I'm not asking if you have them in front of you. Are you aware that they were made?
As I said earlier, there are times when requests are made, and depending on the availability of assets, or if there is a way that
So there were times when they were denied.
if there is a way that vulnerability can be mitigated in a different way, then that is why the
So there are times when they were denied for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
That is why the Secret Service has a multi-layered and multifaceted security plan so that we can pivot if
So
we need to.
in the wake, in the immediate 48 hours of an assassination attempt on a former president, could be the next leader of the free world, almost had his head blown off, your boss says that's irresponsible and false to say things are denied. And you had talked to him.
Yep.
So did he just make that up on his own, or did you tell him that?
We were speaking about the requests made at the rally.
Staff, can we show the next slide, please?
Uh-oh, here we go.
Then we have your spokesman. Did you sign off on this statement?
Uh-oh.
That there's an assertion that a member of the former president's team requested additional security resources and those were rebuffed? This is absolutely false. In fact, we added protective resources and technology and capability as part of the increased campaign travel tempo. But next slide, please. Next slide, please, staff. We have the Washington Post article that then says we now have senior Secret Service officials saying there were at times when it was denied. So which is it?
Again, there have been a number of conversations going on here.
Did you sign off on that spokesman's statement?
The spokesman's statement, I believe, was related to requests that were made.
Did
for
you
the
sign
rally.
off on it?
Twitter used for
the
evidence?
requests
Well,
that were
it's
made
just
at
a
the rally.
statement
Did you
made.
sign off on the statement
Doesn't
before it
matter
went
where
out?
it's
I
made.
sign off on my press spokesman's statement before they go out. I would hope you would in the wake of an assassination attempt.
Yes.
You did. Categorically false that any requests were made. You signed off on it. Thank you for that. Thank you for that clarity. Madam Director, how many press conferences have you held since the assassination attempt?
We have put out press releases.
How many press conferences have you held? Gone to the mic, taking
0,
questions from the
probably.
public, from the
That's
media?
what I would have done. I wouldn't have taken a single
many?
one.
I have not held any.
How many has Secretary Mayorkas held? 0. How many has the FBI held? 0. How many has the Department of Justice held? I know you know the answer.
I believe there was a press conference in Butler after the incident
Oh,
occurred.
jeez.
By local law enforcement, not by you and not by the Department of Homeland Security. So this is how misinformation flies. I mean, in the darkness, in the absence of information. Now we have 9 days later before a congressional committee, we all represent almost 1 million people, and you still don't have answers. Are you aware that national news anchors are saying this was a hoax? On national television, they're saying, oh, the president wasn't shot, it was flying glass. Are you aware of that?
I have not heard those reports.
Are you aware
Wait,
that,
really?
I mean, there are rumors rampant online that there were multiple shooters?
You don't know that?
Are you aware that
How do you not know
because
that?
the shooter had overseas encrypted platforms in Belgium and New Zealand and in Germany, that a lot of people are speculating there could have been foreign involvement, logically? Are you aware of that?
Yes.
And have you done anything to disabuse any of these notions today? No. You haven't. Madam Director, I would fire you. Regardless of the failure, I would fire you just how you've handled it since. You should have been the first to the mics to say, America, world, I want to assure you
Take
we're going to get to the
accountability.
bottom of this.
Yeah,
I want to
true.
assure you full transparency. Our agency clearly had major gaps here, and I want to personally take responsibility and accountability. You should have been the first, standing alongside Secretary
Absolutely.
Mayorkas. And I would even go so far as to say have daily press conferences updating everyone on what we know. But you haven't had any of that. What are you hiding behind?
I am not hiding.
Because you're making the situation worse. I think you've heard that on a bipartisan basis here. You are making this situation far worse in the absence of information.
Yep.
Let's move on.
He's totally right.
This is truly astounding. I want to be clear because you keep dodging the issue. Has President Trump's permanent protective detail requested additional assets over the last few years? He is clearly not your average former president. He's not Jimmy Carter in an old folks home. He's not President Bush painting out in his barn. He has multiple residences, a lot of rallies. He's very publicly engaged, and he has a foreign threat in addition to domestic threats. Have they requested additional resources?
That's the last question, but please feel free to answer.
Thank you,
Director.
We have continued, as I stated earlier, to increase over the past year the assets that are at the former president's
not an
residence
answer.
and supplied to his
She's not
detail.
answering the question.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just ask for one more indulgence. It is clear you have not been to Butler, Pennsylvania. Leaders lead and should be on the ground. You have not been there. Instead, you went to the RNC, but you weren't originally even going to go there. Where were you originally scheduled to go besides the RNC, a national special security event?
I was always scheduled to go to the RNC.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to enter into the record that the director was scheduled to go to Aspen, hobnobbing around with, I don't know what liberal elites go to Aspen. That was where you were originally scheduled to go to speak at a forum.
I was scheduled to go to the RNC. I was going to leave the RNC for 24 hours and return back to the RNC.
I hope, as your predecessor, Julie Pearson, with a security incident on the White House and under the Obama administration and Reagan's Secret Service detail lead, I would hope you would have the dignity for the sake of the agents in the service to resign.
Gentleman's time's expired.
Thank you.
like to enter a few things into the record.
Oh, my God.
First of all, the remaining articles that Mr. Biggs was wanting to enter into the record without objection, so ordered. Next, I have a written statement from Representative Mike Kelly of Pennsylvania. His district includes Butler, and he has a written statement that we'd like to enter into the record without objection, so ordered. A bipartisan 114th congressional report titled United States Secret Service, an Agency in Crisis. This was prepared by former Oversight Committee Chairman Jason Chaffetz and former Ranking Member Elijah Cummings. And lastly, the issue subpoenaed compelling Director Cheadle's appearance at today's hearing without objection, so ordered. That concludes our question segment. I want to thank the Director for your testimony today.
Yeah.
I now yield to the
Thanks
ranking
for the
member
content.
for closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Here we go.
And Director Cheadle, I also want to thank you for your.
We got the picture
your
up of him.
patience,
Oh, God.
Over the course of what must have been a very long and trying hearing for you.
Why would you even defend
it has
this?
been an unusually encouraging hearing and an unusually depressing hearing. And what's encouraging, Mr. Chairman, is that we came together to issue a strong statement deploring and categorically denouncing political violence in America. And I also didn't see any daylight between the members of the two parties today at the hearing in terms of our bafflement and outrage about the shocking operational failures that led to disaster and near catastrophe on July 13th, 2024. What is depressing is the extraordinary communications gap between the director of the Secret Service and Congress. And I don't want to add to the director's terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, but I will be joining the chairman in calling for the resignation of the director, just because I think that this relationship is irretrievable at this point, and I think that the director has lost the confidence of Congress at a very urgent and tender moment in the history of the country, and we need to very quickly move beyond this. And I yield back to you.
Ranking Member yields back. I'll deliver my closing remarks. Director Cheadle, I subpoenaed you to appear today to get answers for the American people.
Well, we didn't get that.
About the failures that led to the assassination attempt of President Donald J. Trump. Unfortunately, you refused to answer today.
I wonder why.
And this committee is not known for its model of bipartisanship, but I think today we came together unanimously in our disappointment.
Everybody knows
for
you're
your
an idiot.
lack of answers.
Yep.
You've stated that the
Brings the
FBI
country
will
together.
investigate and give a report, and you estimate 60 days. We've been waiting for months and months for lots of different bits of information from the FBI. We have no confidence in the FBI. The majority of this committee has no confidence in the FBI. I sincerely
I got
hope
more confidence in the
that
FBI
the
than
hearing
them.
today would give not just Congress confidence in the Secret Service, but the American people would have confidence in the Secret Service. We don't have confidence, not just in Congress, but I don't believe the American people tonight when they go to bed are going to have confidence that the Secret Service is the best it can be.
I have confidence that it's
President
not.
Biden, at protecting the First Lady, at protecting President Trump, at protecting their families. That's what the primary role for the Secret Service
The
should
picture?
be.
I know, it's so
And
funny.
some people have said and speculated, well, there needs to be more money and more employees. As I stated early on, $3.1 billion. I believe next year it's going to be $3.2 billion budget. Over 8,000 employees. If the Secret Service is spread too thin and doing things like inspecting counterfeit, which is what the Secret Service was created to do, was to inspect counterfeit money and things like that with the Treasury. If it's spread too thin, then we need to come together in Congress, and I think we can do that in a bipartisan
get more
way
money. Yeah.
to narrow the focus of the Secret Service, to protect the leaders of our country, to protect our elections by protecting our candidates. And I don't believe we have any confidence that you can do that as the leader of the FBI. I sincerely hope that we would adjourn this committee hearing and have confidence, not just in the Secret Service, but in you as director of the Secret Service. But we do not.
FBI, he probably just fucked up.
Taking responsibility requires a lot of things. It means providing transparency. It means answering simple questions. It means providing a specific timeline of July 13th to this committee and the American people. I mean, it's been 9 days. There were people that were demanding that we have a hearing the next day or 2 days following the shooting. And I said, no, we need to give the Secret Service ample time to be able to answer those questions. 9 days.
Maybe the cops that got removed from Uvalde moved over to the Secret Service.
We answered very many questions.
I think that explains it.
I don't think there was I've never said this before.
It's got to be it, right,
and I've
guys?
presided over a lot of hearings. I don't think there was one question asked by anyone
that she answered
that the average American hasn't already asked at a diner or at church or at a ball game. The American people have questions. They deserve answers. Congress deserves answers. You were subpoenaed today to provide answers, and ma'am, you did not do that. So, as Ranking Member Raskin stated, he and I will be sending a letter requesting that you submit your resignation as a step toward accountability in what happened. And one of the biggest frustrations that many of us have, especially on this side of the aisle, is that there's never accountability in this administration.
That's what I was saying,
when you
bro.
look at the debacles prior to July 13th, I mean, it would be hard to beat
the
withdrawal in Afghanistan, the debacle there, and no one was held accountable. To this day, no one has been held accountable for that. But here we have clearly video showing people notifying the police, and the police are blaming the Secret Service. The Secret Service are blaming the police. Homeland Security is blaming everybody. But at the end of the day, after this hearing and after our request for information, we don't have any answers for the American people, and we don't have that confidence that you can lead the Secret Service to restore the confidence. And again, I commend the ranking member for joining with me in the letter asking your resignation, and we certainly hope that you will take that to heart. With that and without objection, all members have 5 legislative days within which to submit materials and additional written questions for the witness, which will be forwarded to the witness. If there's no further business, without objection, the committee stands adjourned.
Well, honestly, I think that she should run for president. She's brought this country together more than Trump or Biden ever could. And she has brought everybody together in acknowledging that she's completely incompetent. She has no fucking idea what she's doing, totally dishonest, and she should resign. There it is. Unity through failure. That's right, guys.